when you have a skein of yarn and you want to do a center pull, we're going to take our skein out of its wrapper, open it up. There should be little ties holding the yarn so that it comes into a circle. Put it on something that can keep it open and not getting tangled. In this case, a yarn swift. Those little ties that help keep it together when it's getting dyed can be cut off and removed. There's usually around 3 to 4 of them. If you don't have a yarn swift, I will link it in the description below, so you can check out this one if you'd like. Also, you can wind by hand. I know there are videos on how to wind a cake by hand. If you don't have a yarn swift and winder and you don't want to do a cake, but you still need to do 2 of the same color, what you can do is wind half of your skein into a ball. And so I like to wind it around my hand if I'm winding a ball. If you have a small kitchen scale, you can weigh it to see when you've got an equal amount of yarn for splitting a skein in half. It's 100 grams, then you're going to want 2 50-gram balls. But if you have a swift and if you have a winder, then you can wind it onto there, and I'll show you how to do a center pull. We have our yarn coming off of the swift. If you have a winder, now my swift and winder came together, so they'll be together in the description. It usually has somewhere in it to kind of help tension the yarn, so you just thread the yarn through there. It's got slits on the top here. I like to fold my yarn in half and put it across those slits. So I have a tail down here and a little tail up here. Now I like to wind the first few very slowly because I want to make sure that they will cover this tail. So I make sure it's going over the tail a few times. And then I like to hold tension on the yarn with my hand here. That just helps to even out the tension as it's unwinding from the swift. It can sometimes be a little loose and then tighter, and so this just helps to even the tension. So then we just wind. Once you finish winding your cake, it'll look something like this. You have the little tail that was up here. If you're going to do a center pull, I like to pull this whole tail out before I take it off of the winder. So now you have your outside tail as well as your center tail. So if you're going to be doing a double thick yarn, you can pull them both together. Now, if I'm going to be doing that but not ready to use it right away, what I'll take is the label from the skein and wind the yarn around it a few times, and then with both of them together wound around it, I will take it off of the cake and put this right in the center, and that is the color, and it has both tails, and that way if I need to set it aside to work with later, it is ready to go. Now, I have wound lots of balls by hand, and I find that especially with a ball of fingering weight yarn like this that might have 500 or more yards per skein, that can take close to an hour to wind by hand. And sometimes that can be its own fun, kind of slow, methodical, meditative process. But if you have a lot of colors that you're looking to work with, if you're balling a lot of yarn, then a swift and a winder is really a much faster method. It takes between, I'd say, 5 and 10 minutes per skein of yarn on it, and you get a nice cake. Also makes it much easier to be able to do a center pull and outside pull because with a ball you would have to wind 2 balls of half the yarn each to be able to pull from both of them at the same time. So that is how you wind a skein of yarn into a cake, where you can do a center pull and outside pull together.